Welcome to another edition of In the Weeds with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's number one casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. We've got Cale Gundy to solve all of the offensive problems for Oklahoma football.
Yes.
Good luck. Good luck. I'd be better off going to Riverwind and playing some craps. I got a better chance to win that.
Cale, the purpose of having you on is not to pile on this offense. That's not what we're trying to do here. You've been a part of a lot of great offenses. And we're so interested in your perspective of what's gone so wrong with the 2024 Oklahoma offense. Like, as you've been watching these games, what stands out to you? Why is this group struggling as much as they are?
Well, I think it's obvious. It's a combination of a lot of things. You know, it's like making if you're mixing a really bad potion for somebody that you want them to drink, and you're pouring in all kind of different ingredients, and that's what's happened this season. You've got bad offensive line play. You've got bad young struggling quarterbacks. You've got injuries in the wide receiver room. So all of it's just a bad mixture. It's a bad potion. You can't fix it. I hate it. You guys know how much I love Bill Bedenbaugh, and we all love Bill Bedenbaugh. But they went out in the portal, got some players, and some of those guys they're not capable to play in this Southeastern Conference League. Or excuse me, they can play in the league, but they're not good enough to consistently move the ball up and down the field. They're not good enough to stay on blocks. I've been watching, and I've been saying all year, they should never run the ball again between tackle and tackle, because they do not get any movement there. Again, it's a little bit like the NFL. You're kind of wasting your time trying to run between tackle and tackle. So trying to get out on the perimeter, down blocks, pull people, kick people out, give people some angles is the best opportunity they have there, because when they zone block, it just has not worked. It has not worked. And then you're throwing in young quarterbacks. Okay, one of them is a redshirt freshman who's been here for a year and a half now, which in my opinion should start to be coming around a little bit, and that's Jackson Arnold. And he had one game last year in the bowl game, struggled a little bit, did not have all of his offensive line, similar to what has kind of happened this year with him as well. And the other big problem with that is I don't know who's been coaching the quarterbacks. I mean, fundamentals, techniques. I mean, who is the quarterback coach? Somebody asked Coach Venables on the other day in the press conference, and he named three guys. He said, these three guys have been coaching him. You can't have three guys coaching him. You can't do that. I mean, who's been running these meetings? I mean, I know who's been running these meetings, and it hasn't been a full-time assistant coach, has not been running the quarterback meetings. That to me makes zero sense. So with Michael Hawkins, I see some mechanicals. I see some technique. I mean, he's a ooh and ah guy, and he's very, very talented. He does have a quick release. He does have a strong arm. He can be accurate at times. He is fast. He can scramble. He can create. But you have to be able to set in the pocket. You have to be able to have some confidence and deliver some balls at times. And on the outside, there's been times where those guys have gotten open. I mean, I've watched the video. I watched the games 4 or 5 times on Sundays and Monday mornings. And there's opportunities for quarterbacks to deliver balls, but they're running out of the pockets because their confidence of being able to take a snap and being able to sit back there, knowing your offensive line is going to protect for you and you're not going to get your head smashed, is not very good with those guys. So it's, and then on the last part of it is the running backs. When's the last time we've seen somebody make somebody miss on the second level? When's the last time we see somebody, create a big play over 10 yards or 12 yards in the run game? And, we've had some opportunities and gotten some people out in space, but it's just you get tackled and you go to the ground. So it'll be interesting moving forward. Everybody says, hey, we got to go to the portal. We got to go to the portal. We got to get these guys. You have to hit on those guys. Everybody goes in the portal. Everybody does. Obviously, in my opinion, some of the portal guys that OU went and got last year, they didn't hit on their bodies. They play, but they're
not
not
hurt the whole time. So like you
Correct.
talk about Garen Hatchett, the guard, Hickman at center, and guys were hurt and never got a chance to practice until the season already started. Missed all the spring and all the training camp.
I know, and also being in the weight room, where you got to have those type of bodies, man. You got to have the big, strong guys that can move these defensive tackles, defensive line. I mean, we all knew it. We knew what Oklahoma was getting into. But, man, when you go watch these guys physically, and you guys are on the sidelines, I mean, you're in the booth, you're there in pregame. I think Gabe's on the sideline during the game. He gets to see those guys. It reminds me of all the times of all the years that we made the playoffs and we played in Alabama or we played at Clemson or we played in LSU or we played at Georgia. You're like, those dudes don't look the same as the guys we've been playing all year long. And you're in a conference now that's who you're playing week in and week out. Defensively, I think the defense is making strides in every area. I think they're getting better players. It's really good to see some young guys. Those guys have motors. They play fast. They play hard. They play physical. It's to me the run game. They've been doing a good job. They struggled one game this year, in my opinion, in the run game, and that was really Texas. Texas kind of just we're just outside zoning them and gutting them and running around the corner and kind of doing what they wanted to do. The big issue with the defense, in my opinion, is what it's always been, is the pass game. There's seams, there's big windows back there for dig routes and curls and stuff across the middle. And but the defense is heading in the right direction. And if the defense can head in that direction, there's no reason why the offense can't head in that direction. Again, going back to the portal, everybody says, okay, we need to start spending money. We need to start putting more money in, and we need to start getting some better offensive linemen. And that is true. But here's the deal. Just because you're going to be able to you're going to be given more money to go out in the portal, that doesn't mean you're going to get these guys. All that tells you is you get a chance to sit at the big boys table now, because every one of the big boys at that table have all the money just like you do. The Alabamas, the Georgias, the A&Ms, the Texases, the Ole Misses, the Missouris, the Oregons, Ohio States, Georgia, you name it. So now you get to compete against these 9 other schools for top offensive linemen, for top defensive linemen. So it's just the world we live in, man. You don't really know your roster. You have to try to keep guys and develop guys, and it's hard when you're replacing 6-8 guys on a starting team the following year with guys that went to school at Michigan State or Washington or Southeast Louisiana or Miami of Ohio or whatever. You just don't really know who they are as people and their mindset, work ethic, character, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the portal is one of the issues, or one of the problems, but like one of the things that I'm upset by, or not just confused, is it feels like we've had a real lack of development.
Yeah.
And, I think when you keep bringing portal guys in, it can stunt people's growth for sure. But, I look across all of the position groups and I'm wondering, why isn't anyone getting any better? And I know like injury can be a factor in that. And like, there's a bunch of factors there, but What do you think's going on there? I mean, and you can really
Well,
take it across all position groups.
yeah, but like we were talking a while ago, we think the defensive line's getting better, do we not? We
Yeah.
think they're making progress there. We
You
think
can
there's been
you can find a bunch of guys and point that they've week by week, year by year, you could see improvement.
right. The ones it's I'm struggling with saying this is the biggest ones are the offensive linemen. They're the ones, I just haven't seen a lot of guys get better. And again, is it because of, you know, the injuries, the consistent injuries, and not the opportunities to, to me, you got to be with Bill Bedenbaugh 2 or 3 years. Bill's a great coach. You just can't come and he make you a great player in 6 months. I've had conversations with coaches in college football, and guys have told me you'd be shocked that when we get a transfer come in from a guy who comes from a top 20 program who's been a 2-year starter and 3-year starter, how bad he is, how fundamentally technique poor he is, how weak he is in the weight room, and this guy's been a starter at this Power 5 program for 2 years or 3 years. And again, that's where, to me, that's the challenging side of it, is because when you recruited high school kids as ninth graders and sophomores, you were with them for 2 and 3 years. You watched them practice over a dozen times. They were always at your camp. I mean, you got to coach them, got to watch them play games, got to watch them in practice. Man, you got to know them in and out. These portal guys, you don't get to know these guys in and out. To me, it literally, it's a 50-50 chance on signing a portal guy if he's going to turn out to be a good enough player for the University of Oklahoma to win championships with, and you go back through the portal signing class that we signed last year. Yeah, you're signing guys that are playing, but they're not playing at a high level, and that's what we have to have. But you have to develop guys. You got to let guys be in this program, spend time with Jerry Schmidt, spend time with these coaches in the film room for more than just 6 months or a year in order for them to have a chance to play and to not only play, but to be successful enough to beat teams in the SEC. I ain't talking about beat teams in the non-conference. I'm talking about beat teams in the league that we are in right now.
We've got a lot more questions for you, Cale. But first,
oh, you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers, your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch. Tradition plays better and tastes better.
I think I can speak for all of us when I say we hated how things went for Seth Luttrell.
Oh, yeah.
And how that entire situation worked out. But now Joe Jon Finley's got his opportunity. How do you think the offense will look significantly different than what we saw early in the season? Or what are kind of your expectations schematically with Joe Jon calling plays?
Joe Jon's, the nuts and bolts of what he's been with has been the Jeff Lebby offense, and then some of the stuff that Seth has done, his background here at Oklahoma with using 2 tight ends. I don't think you're going to see anything different. I really, really don't. I'm not saying that I think he'll completely go back and play up tempo, because I don't think Brent Venables is going to want him to play up tempo and to be going 3 and out and putting that defense out there all day long. So I don't think, in my opinion, you're going to see much difference. I really, really don't. I think you may see 2 or 3 trick plays in the game, but besides that, schematically, I don't think you're going to see much. I do think the right guy is playing quarterback right now is Jackson Arnold. I do believe that. Again, he's the guy that sits in the pocket, delivers the ball down the field. He stepped in last week. I thought he made some good throws. There were some guys that dropped a few balls. There were some bad passes, but at least he's able to set in that pocket. You know, my young guy Hawk, he's in a different mode. His mind is, he's seeing a lot of the other color jerseys coming at him really fast, and he's just not ready for that. He's not ready to play in that Southeastern Conference on a consistent basis right now. I think he's got the chance to be really, really good. But I don't think you'll see much difference, Joe Jon or Seth, or Gabe. I don't think you'll see much difference with Joe Jon.
Well, given the pieces that they do have available, I don't know if we see Burks this week. Maybe he plays, maybe not. Even if he does, at what capacity is he? And we know that there's a ton of playmakers out. But given what they do have available, what would you do? Knowing what you have to work with, you can't just create a new offense in 1 week. But with the base that they have now, what would be your plan if you were in that role moving forward, trying to create a little bit of explosive plays and some offense?
Teddy, I've said this. I mean, what you have to do is, first, it starts with the quarterback. Okay, you got to find out what is he most comfortable with doing. What are his 5 or half a dozen best pass concepts that he likes? You've got to. Jackson is a guy that can move. He can run well. Okay, so you got to find out what your quarterback does the very, very best. You got to find out what he does the best in the pass game. You got to find out what he does the very best in the run game and what he's comfortable with. It all starts with that. And then you go to the offensive line, you go with Bill Beanbo. What do we do the best? What is the best blocking schemes that we have to give these guys the best chance for us to be successful? To me, that's what you got to build it around. And I don't know that because I'm not there. But that's where it starts. It starts with the guy who touches the ball besides the center every snap is your quarterback. He better feel good about what he's doing. He better have confidence in what he's doing. And your offensive line, you want those guys to have confidence in what they do the best and what blocking schemes that they have. You know, with your skill players, your receivers, with your backs, those guys can handle whatever you're doing. But you got to start with the meat and potatoes in your quarterback and your offensive line, in my opinion.
You mentioned confidence.
Yeah.
And Cale, that's one of the things that really stands out to me when I go back and watch the games is this offense does not look like they have any confidence at all. You coached for a long time. You handled a lot of players, when maybe they were dealing with confidence issues. Like, what do you do? How do you get guys to play with more confidence? How do you get guys to believe more, not only in themselves, but in like what you're doing offensively?
Well, in my opinion, I mean, that team is a family up there, man. And you guys that know it, I mean, you've got to try your damnedest 24 hours a day as an assistant coach, as a coordinator, as a head coach. You just cannot be around these guys when it's meeting time and practice time. You got to spend more time with these guys away from that, okay? And you got to make them feel comfortable. They got to know that you have their back, okay? Because those guys they know what's going on. You don't think every one of those offensive players, you think they feel real good walking around campus and 22,000 students know who those guys are, the offensive linemen, the quarterbacks. That is difficult. That is really, really difficult. But they got to have confidence, and you have to stay together as a team, but you have to find a way, Gabe, and I don't have anything magical. They've got to try to they've got to do some positive things early in games. They have to. And I think we got to start trying to throw the ball more down the field than what we're doing. I mean, we threw it down the field last week. We had a touchdown. We threw it down the field a couple other times, incomplete passes. We threw it down the field. We got a pass interference. Those are two huge plays. The catch to Brendan Thompson and the pass interference, those are big plays. We haven't had those big plays like that all year long. we got to start taking some more opportunities of getting the ball down the field. Now, you don't want to do it on a consistent basis and throw it in bad coverage, but if you got some one-on-one shots, you got to take those opportunities. You have to take those opportunities. It's either going to be caught, it's going to be a PI, or it's going to be an incomplete pass. So 2 or 3 things are good things that can happen for you offensively. But they got to try to find a way to start. They got to try to find a way to have some confidence. I kind of look back last week, my brother's game at BYU, Oklahoma State offense. They played a good game offensively. Why? Because they had things go well early. They ran the ball. They had some success. And so that builds confidence in on your sideline. If you put yourself in situations like, you did last week, it's over with. You're cooked. I mean, these young men are all human, and they can portray something on the outside, but on the inside, it's hard to deal with, and it's very, very difficult. But you got to try to create some offense. You got to come up with your best plays, man, and your best plays, you got to use them early. You don't want to save them. If you get in a situation where you think you have an exotic or a trick play and it's second series in the first quarter, you better use it. You don't want to use it in the third quarter. The game's probably going to be over with in the third quarter. So use your very best plays early in your first 2 to 3 drives to try to build some confidence.
Now, last week we saw in the second half a little bit of a youth movement. Like, hey, let's throw some of these younger guys in. We saw Jacob go out there, had a really nice day, caught, I think, 6 balls, looked really good. Caleb Hicks came in, had a couple of carries, looked good. Caden Helms at tight end. Is that something that you think they should continue to do? I mean, it's kind of a developmental thing, but it's also, those guys may have some confidence because they haven't gone in there and seen the failure,
There's no doubt. What OU needs to try to get to 6 wins. They've got to get to 6 wins. They have got to get an extra 3 weeks of practice in December for bowl game for these young guys. Okay. So, everybody's like, well, just throw the young guys in. They're going to throw those guys in as long as they are capable of knowing what the hell they're doing. And they just don't go out there and just get their butt whooped every play or screw up every play. And I know a lot of people say, well, it can't be any worse than what the hell's going on. Yeah, it can be worse. It really can be worse. Yeah, it can be worse. And trust me, if Bill Beanbo right now, if somebody's capable of going out there and at least playing at the level that these older guys are playing, he would have stuck them out there right now. There's no doubt in my mind. And you know what? I don't even get hung up over this red shirt crap anymore. Again, 4 years in college is a long time. If a guy plays 4 years in the first year, let's say he played in 5 games, they only played a handful, but he has 3 more full years of playing college football, man, you're going to recruit more guys in, and you're going to get more guys coming in the system. I just don't. I think 4 years is enough of college. I really, really do. I don't.
I think that is that a driven thing though. I've seen more players than I'll just say a million years ago. Whenever I played, it was like it was you felt like you were special if you didn't redshirt. And now it feels like everyone wants to redshirt. Like if they're not a starter, don't play them.
Well, you know why, in my opinion? I think these guys are wanting to spend more time in college to make more money.
Yeah.
You're in college for 5 years, you're going to make more money than you are in 4 years, Put yourself in a better position for that. And I'm not saying that's right, but I think that's just kind of the way he is. But if those guys are ready, they're going to start playing. If they're not, again, but they got to find a way to get to 6 wins. Okay. And they're at 4 right now. They're 4-3 right now. Okay. So they have 4-3. Is that right? Yep. 4-3. Okay. They're 4-3. This is going to be a tough game this weekend, obviously, going to Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss has struggled. Ole Miss is a high-powered offense against all these non-conference teams, but they've gotten in the conference and they haven't been high powered. Now they're leading the conference in conference games, and I'm a big stat guy, Teddy, when it comes to conference games. I throw the non-conference out. That's like playing JV ball. The hell with that. I want to know what you're doing against the big dogs on Saturdays. And if you look at them, they're leading offensively. They're leading the SEC conference in games only in yards per game. But they've only had 7 touchdowns in 3 games. That ain't very good. So this is going to be a hell of a matchup, in my opinion, against Ole Miss offense and the OU defense. I think it's going to be real close, a very close game. Now, Ole Miss offensively, they have played some good teams defensively. Kentucky right now is one of the better teams in the conference defensively, okay? They played South Carolina, pretty damn good football team. We saw that last weekend, They played LSU. So defensively in the category ranks, these guys are pretty good. Now, on the flip side of it, Ole Miss, they're not allowing a whole lot on the defensive side. And that's going to be a challenging spot. Now, the one weakness that they have defensively is in the back end. I think they're 14th or 15th out of 16 teams in the SEC when it comes to pass defense. Now, running the ball, having consistent drives, scoring points has not happened a whole lot down in Hotty Toddy land. And that's going to be a challenge come Saturday for the Sooners.
Jackson Arnold's going to have to be good, Cale.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to imagine that when you look at Walter Nolan, J.J. Pegues, the guys that they have along that defensive front.
Prince is going to be back.
I am fully anticipating him playing in the football game, which makes them it makes them a lot more dangerous on that defensive front. And it's just hard to imagine with all the struggles that OU's offensive line has had up to this point that all of a sudden they're going to get right against this group that's led by a guy that's probably going to be a top 10 pick when he decides to come out.
I think OU could have some. I mean, man, it's just sometimes I feel like I'm talking because I played there and I coached there forever, and it's in my heart, But I really do believe. I believe they can have some success. I believe Jackson Arnold can have some success, but I don't think they can sustain enough success in 4 quarters to be able to win this football game. I don't, but I think Jackson will do some good things, but it just won't be enough because I don't think the offensive lineman will allow it enough to be able to sustain, in the run game and in pass protection for 4 quarters.
I think, like you mentioned, though, I do think there's some avenues that aren't all that difficult. You mentioned the secondary is the weakness of Ole Miss's defense. The front 7, specifically the defensive line and the interior, you got to try and find a way to take them out of the game. The perimeter stuff, whether it's just make the secondary be the tacklers in this game. The quick, get the ball out of the quarterback's hand, the bubble stuff, just the quick outs, attacking some of those cushions that they get out there. If you can be methodical, I think you can at least find yourself close enough in the second half to be able to get some things done. And when you sprinkle in throwing the ball deep, which is not a risky play, it's one of the least risky plays as long as you've got the right look that you can have. So, I mean, I feel like there's some avenues.
You look back at the Tennessee game in the first quarter. You look back at the Auburn game in the first quarter. OU did some things and kind of had some success, kind of moving the ball, creating some plays, getting the ball on the perimeter outside, some quick passes. And then it's like they kind of get in the second quarter and they take a couple sacks and then they just kind of get in this holding pattern mode, but they have it in them. They do, again, get the ball out on the perimeter, misdirection, quick game, get the quarterback out of the pocket, let him run some boots, let him run, naked, take a couple shots with
can't run naked if you don't run outside zone, Cale.
I know. I'm fine with outside. I said between the tackles. I know, but
They don't run outside zone, so it's hard.
Don't run between here.
It's hard to run boot. It's hard to run boot when you don't run outside zone.
I agree. Well, they ran some outsides. They've run some outside zone this year. They have.
It's been successful, but they don't come back to it for whatever reason.
That was my point a while ago. Was they did some stuff in some games early, and then they get in the second quarter and they just kind of go in the shell and kind of. Run that outside zone and let Jackson Arnold pull it a time or two if he needs to, so the backside guy ain't chasing him, but run some nakeds and get him out there and get a guy in the flat right now and get a guy that's dragging, and get a guy running the go ball out there, take a peek at him. If he's there, let it go, give Jackson Arnold 3 or 4 opportunities. That's not 3 or 4 opportunities sitting back there in that damn pocket between the tackles with those big dudes coming at him.
Cale, one last thing I want to hit with you.
Yep.
I know that watching this offense struggle the way that it's struggled has not been easy for you. Yeah. It hasn't been easy for any of us, right? That are associated with the program in any way, but certainly guys that played there and feel the way about the program that we do. But I mean, I've seen stuff all over social media, people tweeting at you. Hey, come back and run this offense, like all that stuff. And I know that puts you in an awkward situation, but like how has that experience been for you? All those people reaching out. I can't imagine it's been comfortable, or I don't know. What's it been like?
It's comfortable and uncomfortable. And everyone that I talk to, I'm like, no, I ain't doing it. I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. Okay. And I do, I love what I'm doing. I'm kind of enjoying life a little bit, I'm kind of to the point right now where I'm doing those things, but I miss the players. I miss coaching. I miss, being around the guys. And I miss teaching them 24 hours a day. I miss coaching them how you handle yourself around people, how you handle yourself in meetings, how you handle yourself in the dorm, and how you prepare, just everything, days of life. But it's tough in one area because my guys, and I say my guys, but Seth Luttrell, I coached him, loved him to death, loved the family. Bill up there, DeMarco, all those guys, Joe Jon. I mean, you guys, so it's hard when I don't like it, and those guys know that it is what it is. It's just social media. And, but I'm content with what I'm doing right now. And they've got to get this right. I wish Joe Jon the very best. I know Kevin John's a little bit. I'm glad that now there's finally a guy who's been a quarterback coach in a lot of different places in his career that is coaching the guy, that is coaching Jackson Arnold, that is coaching Michael Hawkins. That's your man. You've got to have a quarterback coach coaching your dude. You have to. You cannot have anybody else. Jeff Lebby was able to do it because Jeff Lebby learned and grew to be a quarterback coach. He was trained to be a quarterback coach over 20 years or however many years, but you've got to take care of that guy. That guy's he's got to have confidence because that's the guy that touches the ball.
Well, I know this is sometimes it can be difficult because there's so many options out there, but I mean, there's obviously going to be an offensive coordinator search going on. Are there any names out there, any systems that you like that you think that maybe they should look at or pursue?
Well, Brent's got to make the decision. What system do I want? What's the best system for our players? Probably what's the best system that we're going to be able to recruit to? What's the best system for this team? What's the best system for this defense? It's one thing to say, I'm going to go out there and, get the go-go offense and playing fast and going up and down the field, but if you're getting slowed down, then you're putting the defense back out there again. And, they're playing 35 minutes a game, 37 minutes a game. You
also got to have a system that high school kids want to play in.
That's right. There's There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it. And you just can't sit here and say, okay, who's having success this year? This guy's having success over here. You better find out if he's had success 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Is he a guy that his teams can, continually get better? Just don't go look at somebody who just all of a sudden got good this year. They might have got good this year just because they got a quarterback. You got to, if you got a quarterback,
there's a lot of problems when you got the guy.
You got a guy. So you better see how he is when he's been in the past, and do they develop those? So that's a big thing. Brent's got to get that right. He has to get that right. And here's the other deal. You guys know this. You bring an offensive coordinator in, they typically like to bring in one or two of their own guys. And they typically like to bring in an offensive line coach. An OC likes to bring his offensive line coach. What are you going to do with Bill Bedenbaugh? If that happens, are you going to tell this offensive coordinator may come, but you tell him he can't bring his O-line coach, then he's going to say, well, I'm not coming. So you're not getting the best OC. Man, there's a lot that goes in it, as you guys know. I wish those guys the best. Those guys are going to succeed in whatever they do. I wish Joe Jon, those guys the best moving forward. But just kind of the business, man. It's life. It is what it is.
Not many people get to do what you did and be at the same place
forever.
No, you don't. But
you don't. It's less than 1%, and then it's less than 100% of that 1%. It doesn't work.
In a perfect world, I think we all agree. Hey, it would be awesome if OU's offense goes to score 50 points a game the rest of the year, and Joe Jon stays on as the play caller. You keep the staff together. There's a bunch of positivity, but it is what it is. It seems unlikely that happens. For me, this is all I want. And it really goes back to recruiting. I want a system where you can take the core concepts of that system and put them side by side of clips from games on Sundays and say, we run the same core concepts that NFL teams run. I think there's a ton of power in that from a recruiting perspective. Like, hey, come to Oklahoma and play offense. We will prepare you for the NFL. And right now, the core concepts of this offense, Cale, I don't think you can do that right now.
No. What are the core concepts? We don't
was
really
the
know
inside zone play, and then they didn't run it against Texas one time. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
They've been searching. They've tried a lot of different things. They've been searching, but that's my hope, is that in a perfect world for me, like the McVay Shanahan stuff is my favorite offense in football.
Yeah.
I love that system, but that's what I want, is for OU's offensive staff to be able to sit down, show their core concepts of them, them running their core concepts, and then be able to put it side by side to multiple NFL teams and say, look, this is what we do. This is what they do at the next level. Come play here.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to get an offensive line. You got to get quarterback. You get those two, you can go a long ways.
No doubt. Hey, you're the man. Please make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel if you really like this. Super thanks down this way. But other than that, we'll see you next time here on In the Weeds.